doing? It's fine Sunday. OBS is behaving kind of oddly. It'll stop blinking at me. All right. Well, here we are again, another Sunday. Slightly worried about what OBS is doing, but hopefully it's fine. We are here to do some coding. That's what we do. Mornings. And we're doing some game dev, as has been the thing that I have been doing for the last like 2 months now. When I say it like that, it sounds like, oh, I've been doing a lot of game dev. No, it's mostly just been on these streams. We are on our 7th day, so our 7th stream day, the 7th week of working on making some kind of starter games, practice games in Godot. We started out with Bomb, and now we're on to Breakout. And what were we doing? So we have this with their cool shader background that we found online, and we are using that. So we have this, and we have oh, one thing I did add after the last stream, I had this idea of like, could I use Copilot, use like AI to generate like a whole scene for me, which we've been using Copilot on these projects just as kind of like a fancy autocomplete, right? And just like not asking it to go and make whole things, and it sort of worked. It did succeed. There were some things that it got confused about because we have both. So it made for us a high scores scene, like it generated this file, as you can see over here on the right. Here's the chat from last week. And so it kind of sketched out some of the basics. I did go back and change some things, and then I made a Godot script file. And this mostly worked, except it got a little confused around setting font overriding styles and properties and stuff. I think it mixed the syntax between what you would actually have in the scene file versus the Godot script. That's what it seemed like to me. So anyway, so that seems to work now though. So that was on our list of things to do, which was we wanted a screen to show high scores. So, and I think what I've done, we have a game manager, right? Game manager, yeah. And so we have some initial high scores, right? So let's add this to the to-do list, something that we wanted to do. Load, save, high scores from disk. Which is as far as we're gonna go for this project. You could have something where you have like an online component for tracking that sort of thing, but we're not doing that here. So initially, what I've done is, excuse me, we have a high scores array on the game manager that just holds that state. And this game manager is a node that is auto-loaded in the project. And we just have some initial high scores. And we're not providing currently a way to add to the high scores. So that means that when we get to the end of the game, to the screen where it shows the high scores, we'll see this list, ideally. So let's just run through the game really quick. I don't know why I'm playing it. I should just, let's just lose really quick. There we go, game over, final score. Is there, how do we, I guess I've not implemented the part where you could see the high scores. from that, but we have a button here. Here we go. So our AI generated scene, um, the Godot script goes and programmatically adds labels to the UI for the high scores. Uh, Whether this should be aligned or not is we could do other things here, but this is fine. This is fine for now. So that's all well and good. We have the screen. We can get there from the main screen. What else do we want to do? So we want a screen to enter initials if the high score is in the top 10. Right. So so we have a game over scene. Let's go back to Godot and open that. Click the right file. There we go. This is, well, what we just saw, right? Game over, and then a placeholder that this would be your score, and back to main menu. So what do we want to have happen here? I think what we want to do is we want to make this so that if you're eligible to add a new high score, we show. Do we just want to make the player enter initials? Probably. That's probably simpler than having like multiple things here. So let's see. How is main menu button connected to things? What's the signal? Oh, I see. So when this is clicked, we call a method on something. Oh, just on the scene. Okay, that's fine. So here's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna remove this button. I can just hit delete, but I'll select delete from the menu. We'll add a new child node into VBox container, and this is also gonna be a container. Maybe an HBox container. Might be easiest. That's a flow container. Oh, it is wrapping. Interesting. I should probably look at all the other containers at some point. There's a tab container. That might be good for like our settings UI. It's an HBox container that we'll create here. And this is going to be called something like options container. Yeah, I guess in this scene, I decided that what I was going to do is I was going to have some properties. Yeah, so let's do that. So we'll say, hey, tell me what is the options container. There we go. What does player one here mean? Oh, right, we reached the end of the game. Like we made it through all the levels. That's what one means here. Okay, I couldn't really recall immediately. So if what Copilot wrote. That's the normal zoom level. Yeah, so if the player is eligible for a high score, then we should show input field. And then if they're not, then we want to show a button to take them back to the menu. Something like this. Except this doesn't actually exist. We actually have to build that. Just hold that thought. We'll come back to this. So we'll let Copilot write a little bit here. So we're going to create a main menu button. We're going to set the text. We're going to connect it to... This is not how you do this. Rest. There you go. Oh yeah, and then options container add child. I'm curious about something. I think the game over scene, we add it to the tree, and then when we leave it, yeah, when we leave it, we keep free. Okay, so we shouldn't have to worry about cleaning up this button or the stuff we're going to add here, because this whole subtree is going to get freed. Yeah. Text changed. This isn't real Godot, is it? Yeah, it's a lot. Do I even want? How do I want to do this? So line edit presumably is a real thing. Yeah, an input field for single line text. Line edit provides an input field for editing a single line of text. When the line edit control is focused, enter edit mode, click control to exit, check edit, unedit is editing, and editing toggle for more information. Can we give it focus manually? Grab focus. Steal the focus from another control and become the focus control. Use this method together with call deferred. Makes it more reliable. There we go. Now, is this valid? So, first of all, is there... Like in Python, there is a syntax for these kind of inline functions with the keyword lambda. Does such a thing exist in GDScript? Functions always belong to a class, apparently. Lambda functions allow you to declare a function that does not belong to a class. So they just said above the functions always belong to a class, but now you can declare a function that does not belong to a class. So the callable object is created and assigned to a variable directly. This can be used to create callables to pass around without including class scope. So we say for lambda equals function x. So that could be valid syntax. And what is this trying to do? It's going to have a function that's going to get the initials. It's making a closure over initials input. At least that's what the syntax, like what Copilot is suggesting, probably would do. It's going to call add high score. We're not going to print a bunch of things. That's not going to be good. but we could do something like this. Yeah, except we're just not gonna bother any of that. We're not gonna bother with this. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna queue free on many things. Probably what we should do is just call on main menu button pressed, right? To have that same behavior. Yeah. And then I think what I want to do is let's add some kind of validation. Well, interesting. Is min size a thing? No. Update minimum size. What does that do? Nothing. Nothing related to what I'm trying to do. What's in here? That's the minimum size. What's that? That's the minimum size of the node's bounding rectangle. So some kind of length, like max length. Oh, we're already setting that right here on this line right here. I'm just not paying attention. What else do I want to do? I want to have something where I don't know, is there any kind of like valid actually something like this will be okay if we say if initials.length equals 3. Actually, what if we always do to upper replace spaces, right? So we're always like every time you enter something and the text changes. Hold on, what does text entered actually do or mean? Text. Yeah. Okay, text entered is not a thing. Text changed. Emitted when the text changes. So, what do we think? Is this gonna work? I don't know, let's find out. So to get to this, we need to be eligible for a high score. Did we actually implement that? So we said if the high scores list is less than 10, then it's always true. Otherwise, we check the high scores. So just double checking something. Yes, we do sort. Okay, good. Gotta make sure it's sorted. Otherwise, things break down. Yeah, so we should, since we don't have. Oh, no. I mean, we will have a way to add initials. Like once we implement it, provided this works, we will add to the high scores. Yeah, so should add high score, even take the score, given that we let's get rid of this. And we're going to change this to actually just use player last score. That simplifies things slightly. It's just kind of weird, right? To reach into Game Manager to get something only to pass it right back to it. Okay, so let's run the game and see what happens. Let's get a little bit of a score. Sip some coffee while I wait for the ball to. Okay, never mind. cannot call method add child on null value. Game over line 30. Oh, right. So, we didn't actually look up the game over options container to the options container. Okay, let's restart. That'd be why. New game, and we'll just so this is what we get initially. So presumably there's a placeholder here. I think what we should do is we should add a label instead. But let's say oh, interesting. Look how the cursor behaves. That happen? That happens because we rewrite the contents of the thing every time we enter a character. How do I feel about that? Maybe we should. I wonder if there's a way to hide the cursor. Anyway, so let's submit high score, and then look at high scores. And our sorting is backwards. All right, so. In the game manager, apparently our score sort in descending order. Is it? Sort custom sorts the array using a custom callable. The function should return true if the first element should be moved before, otherwise false. So we're not returning true or false, we're returning a number. And then JavaScript, well, let's do this. Let's make a custom sort function. Rather a compare scores. There we go. If okay, so what did this say? So ascending sort, descending sort. We want to check that A is greater than B for descending sort. And this again is giving me the wrong logic, right? What we want to do is we want to say true. Here's a question. Yeah, we should just, like, this whole conditional is unnecessary, right? Just return A greater than B. Now this versus doing something like this. This is fine. That's not going to fix this because this is showing the state after it, it's been processed. So we've already called to add high score and updated the list. So the sort's not going to happen again until we get another high score. So let's go do that. Interesting. XXY UI. Right, because the cursor's still at the beginning. Okay, it's not enough to hide the cursor. We're gonna have like a very odd behavior if we don't do something about that. And it didn't take us to the high scores list. It should have. Okay, well the ordering is fixed. That's nice. Right. So if we want this to take us to the high scores list, we need to do something different than call on main menu button pressed. We need to do something like, well, how does the main menu show us the high scores? What's inside the UI? High score scene. Menu scene and menu script. So here we instantiate the high score scene. We connect the button inside of the high score screen to Lambda that causes the start screen to be shown, and we add high scores to the tray. Option to get to high scores. Screen to ensure initials. We're currently working on that. I guess I don't actually have a thing where I said I wanted to have it show the high scores at the end of the game. Technically not a thing that I said I was going to do, so I'm going to ditch that for now because that would be more involved than I want at the moment. For text change, yes, I could get rid of this. The text changes. Change the text. Yeah, changing text using this property won't emit the text change signal, which is good. We'd end up in a kind of a recursive situation there if that wasn't the case. Let's go look at a node. Let's just add a text. What's it called? Line something? Line edit? Let's see what we're working with here. So max length, editable, keep editing on text submit, expand to text length. Oh yeah, I also wanted to do something here with this line edit, right? We write this big whole placeholder text, but it's not super helpful because you can't see it. Let's add a label. It's doing something. I don't know what this. Okay, Copilot is. It's just like going wild. Let's get rid of all that, and we're just going to options, container, add child labels input. Cool. And anyway, what other options do we have? Selecting enabled. Yeah, that's all fine. I don't need to change any of that stuff, I think. Flash, draw control characters, select all on focus. Caret. Ooh. Caret blank is interesting. Force display. Interesting. Secret. lots of interesting options. Is there a selecting enabled right icon? Okay. Emoji menu enabled. Okay, sure. Expand to text length. Alignment. Force displayed. We looked at that, right? Yeah. Column shows the caret's column position inside the line edit. When set, the text may scroll to accommodate. Okay. Huh. All right. That. I could just get rid of this. What do I want here? Let's have some placeholder text. Sure. And then on the submit button, what we should do is we should do to upper on the text. Yeah. Oh, I have an idea. Submit button dot is it disabled? Yeah, true. And then what we can do is we can say something like this. Except the submit button doesn't exist yet, so we need to move this maybe down here. Yeah. Do I want to say you can't answer? So I guess a thing I didn't see in the list of options for the line edit node was something to say filter what characters these are going to enter, which could have been nice. That is effectively what I was trying to do with some of the logic we had up here before. Okay, so if I run this, is this closer to what I had in mind? I guess I should actually try to just let the, there we go. Hey, now we have a label. Enter your initials. Z. Okay. No submit high score. I did something wrong here. Okay, initials, input text change, connect, text. I wonder, actually, yeah, are we getting an error? Yeah, we're getting an error. Error calling from signal text change because it method expected 0 arguments but was called with 1. All right, so let's restart. Did I save that change? I did not. Okay. Let's see. Now, if I enter, there we go, and then we have an active button that I can click. And it takes us back here, and we can see there's our score. We don't see the other ones because we haven't implemented persistence yet to save the scores to disk. But as long as we don't close the game, we'll have that. I think the only other thing would be something that we could do in here to make things a little bit easier to see, which is if we add a panel container. We put options container inside of it. Maybe I'll have to restart to see that. Right. Sometimes the things that I do in the editor do seem to like take effect immediately in the game, and sometimes they don't. I guess that has to do with, there we go, with changing things to do with nodes that are already in the scene tree versus changing around, adding new nodes and stuff to the local scene tree. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So I think we can say that screen to insert initials if scores in top 10 is done. And so the last thing from our list of things from the last coding stream was loading and saving high scores from disk, which I think we can do pretty quick. How do we do that? How do we do that properly? So let's figure out saving logic. All right, so let's get rid of this and let's see. I guess let's make a node, or not a node, but a variable called scores path. It should be something like user. Or also, I can't type. There you go. So two things we could do. One, we could save this as JSON. Is there... I don't think it makes sense to like create a resource. Like, that makes sense for things that we're going to be defining inside of the Godot editor and like setting up at like, call it design time at, at this part of building the game. I don't know, maybe this is something, let's see, Godot, saving, loading, game, state, saving games, there's a page. So there's user configuration, there's a config file class. And this is talking about like persisting objects, which is not quite the same thing. So yeah, here's their like save game.save, and they are getting nodes that are in a group called persist, and they are running it to JSON. And then there's binary serialization. Interesting, but not quite what I'm looking for. What about config file? So helper class to handle INI style files. So we can create a new config file object and set the values. This is like section key value, and save it. Here's a literal example of saving scores. Or loading scores. In this case, for like multiple players. store line JSON string. Arrow loading. Okay. If the file exists, we can open it for read. And then we are it seems like using the config file class might be easier, just more straightforward. So let's try to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say score config. Yep. Change this around because it'll be really weird to save high scores in a file called .json if it's not going to be JSON. We pass a path, right? To the, .cfg probably makes sense. For I in range high scores that size. So we're going from 0 to up to the length of the high scores already. And we're calling score config.setValue in the high scores section. Where we're doing like score and the number value. Yeah, I guess we have to kind of do that because there could be duplicate initials, right? Right, of course, var. This is not Python, as much as it sometimes looks like it. Let's make this give me a little bit more room here. Okay, and then we just save config to our scores path. So we create a new config file instance. We attempt to load from scores path. If that's successful, we start with an I of 0, and we continue until we don't find a score entry. And then we make sure it's sorted. And we only keep the top 10. Okay, so I think that might be enough to actually implement saving and loading of high scores, right? So the load high scores, when does that get called? On ready of game manager. So like as soon as we opened the game, we attempted to read the high score config, and we didn't have any errors because we don't fail if that fails. So we'll just let the game end. We'll add our first high score. The high scores, there we go, 40. So then if I quit and I run the game again, I immediately just go to the high scores menu. It's still there. Persistence of high scores. And we can do a new game, and maybe let's try to do better. It'd be hard. Maybe slow, but not hard. Especially if I do things like that. There we go. We have high scores. We did it. All right, and so that was our last item on this checklist. And all of that just involved changing these 3 files. That's it. All right, so we added some stuff around loading and saving, and we added these checks on the game over screen to do different things. And then the scene we updated slightly to add a container for the options to go into, and that's it. Let's commit all that. Implement iScore submission displaying game over screen. Great. Okie dokie. Now what? Well, what else were we trying to do with this breakout clone? Levels. We did that. Although I've not actually shown that today because we haven't gotten past the first level, but that's neither here nor there. High score list, and then using curves for inputs to nodes. I think one of the things I was thinking of doing is having it so that I could control the paddle on screen with the mouse. Can we do that? I don't see why not. Let's look at the Godot docs, because I think there was some stuff for let's see, house 2D movement overview, controllers, gamepads, and joysticks, customizing mouse and input coordinates. So there's a underscore input callback that we can provide. Capture, data position is the center of the screen. Use event relative. So what is this input mouse mode captured? Is that something we set in? It says it's so when the mouse mode is set. How are we setting the mouse mode? Hey, Mars, how's it going? Good morning. Welcome. How do I... You know what I should do? Is I should just Google. So, mouse mode. And Brainless is here. Hello. It's going. Just looking for a chat to lurk in while I run through a Godot tutorial. Well, welcome. Lurkers are always welcome. I am not a Godot tutorial, so probably I am a good place to lurk while you're looking at a Godot tutorial. Okay, so there is a mouse mode property on the input object. That makes sense. I guess the question is, like, if in the game scene, like on the script for the game scene, I don't have a script for the game scene. I guess the player has a script. maybe the player is where this logic should live, right? So I know there's a ready, right? And so we could do something like input dot mouse mode. We wouldn't want it to be hidden. We want captured.
She's got a lot of talent there.
Right? Is there a unload?
Back in Texas.
Unready?
Oh,
Maybe that is
But after this, there'll be no more distractions.
Called when the node is about to leave the scene tree. Right? I just want to make sure that when we leave the main part of the game, we put the mouse mode back. Mouse mode for Is this even required? I don't know. Let's go back to the Godot docs. Inputs, methods reflect the global input state and are not affected by these things. Vibrate handheld, interesting. Brainless, how are you doing this morning? Before I forget to ask. Okay, well let's just try this, right? So then, I guess what I want to do is I want to have a input, and we want to do something. We want to influence the velocity based on the mouse X. Brainless says doing well. Buying a game I had on my wish list and just went into sale, which you might like. Dream Engines. Yeah, I think I saw you mention that at some point. Was that the one that had the city that could, like, move around? Or am I thinking of a different thing? Or at least it was described that way, yes. I just want to acknowledge that, oh, interesting. Okay, so no mouse. I lost the mouse. No. Okay. So apparently, oh, it's a bot. Interesting. So I guess we actually need this to be maybe enter tree. I've not really used these enter tree and exit tree things. Callbacks before. But yeah, okay, so that's not sufficient. Because the player is in the game scene, and the game scene is loaded immediately. It's just the game scene is hidden at game start. Or the gaming overlays it, or something like that. Could be an issue. Maybe... What if I just give up on this whole idea of setting the mouse mode? What if I do that? Good game. Hey, look, it's too sensitive. Okay, interesting. So what I need to do is I need some kind of relationship between the mouse movement and the influence on velocity in the game. And so what I want to do is in our player, we want to add something. We want to export var input relation, which is this is why I wanted to use a curve, which then shows up here. We can make a new curve. We can edit it. There we go, and we can we can do something like that. Now, how do we actually turn that into something useful? I don't know, but we're gonna find out in a couple